We just need to stop thinking about all the problems and just rejig how we're looking at the time, space and movement. Like the goalpost has moved a bit. This is how we have to do it.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. We love catching up with former guests here on Deep in the Weeds, but often the catch-up is about new and exciting endeavours. Today's guest, a regular on our airwaves, has faced extreme adversity over the last year, and today he joins us to share how he's navigated through the toughest of times. Damien Brabender, mate, it's good to see you.
You too, mate. You too. It's been a year and a bit, but it's been a bit of fun. So.
Well, we've been in contact over the last year and a half because you've had a whirlwind of things happen to you and had to sell your restaurant. And but firstly, I guess, how are you? How's your health at the moment?
I'll say my internal health is very, very good. Eating better, different non-hospitality hours and stuff is always good as well. Doing a lot of physiotherapy post the first couple of surgeries and stuff. So, but like considering the situation, feeling pretty healthy. I'm not about to go and strap up the footy boots or anything, but I'm not that mobile, but feeling physically healthy.
Well, age might not be on your side for strapping on the football boots as well, but I'll leave that one alone. Well, you are legendary in Canberra. We've had you on the show many times. Otis Dining, an institution, but you had to let go of it. Take us back to sort of the reasons why that happened. You had an unfortunate car accident. What happened?
Well, it all boils down to the fact that I'm such a stickler for focusing on the minute things in the day-to-day in the restaurant and the way it runs, where I got sick of my fish being delivered and then it's twice the weight of what I wanted, or it's coming too late in the day, or it's not the right quality. So I made the conscious decision about 3 years ago to drive down to Fishwick to pick up the fish every single day, or every second day instead, which actually was kind of like a nice break in the day. One day heading down to the fish markets, and then some undesirable human who has some extracurricular activities that involves a lighter and stuff, runs through two stop signs, about 80 k's an hour, and just has a semi-head-on, which resulted in the femoral head, which is the top of the femur, actually shattering on top and collapsing. And that cut the blood circulation off to the bone, which caused a disease called avascular necrosis. So essentially, it's the bone inside the leg slowly dying because it's being starved of blood. So after that, I had a bit of a limp and had gone to the doctors a couple of times. And the first doctor was kind of saying, "Oh no, you've just strained something." The next doctor went, "Sounds like you've got a broken hip." So, all industries have got their highs and lows, I guess. So went in for x-rays and then was talking to the surgeon, and he said, "Well, there's no easy way of saying it. It's not just a broken hip. This is the knock-on effects, and this is a lifelong thing that's going to be happening now." So booked in to have surgery, but I didn't want to sell the business because I'm a bit pig-headed with some things. I kind of went, it's only a hip surgery. How bad can that be? I'll just go in, get it done on Monday and on my day off, and back to work and figure it out. But turns out that the world had very different ideas, and had to sell what I can only describe as was a foolproof, recession-proof business that I'd created from nothing to kind of defy the normal thoughts behind what a hospitality business plan should be and the way it should actually operate as well. So, and we were at the best place we'd ever been in the restaurant. So we brought the team right down. We'd really hyper-focused. We were investing our time into young staff and kind of, training them up to send them out into the hospitality industry to really bolster it as well. So about 7 months of working with a broken hip, finally got in to have my surgery because I couldn't do that until we sold the restaurant. We had to sell it very, very cheaply because of the time constraints. If we were to put it on the market and go through the normal process, that number would have been 6, 7, 8 times higher. But at the end of the day, you can't buy legs in Australia legally, not human ones anyway. So I kind of just went, well, we'll take care of the rest of that when we cross that bridge. So we sold the business, sold most of the wine stock. Some of it I've got in a cupboard, which is good. Then moved onto the path to surgery and ended up having surgery on my birthday. So that was a nice little present.
Well, before we get to that, take us about that realization and that decision to let go of Otis, because, anyone who's been to Canberra, and definitely people who live in Canberra, have probably dined there. It's such an institution here. Was that a really hard decision? Because you'd put so much into that incredible venue.
It was incredibly hard. It's incredibly hard even thinking about it even now. I mean, it wasn't just a business. I mean, I'd had multiple businesses, about 7 different things in total, and we'd made it I'd made a decision to minimize what I was involved with, sort of when the whole world did, just after COVID, and I kind of shrunk things down and went, right, this is my retirement plan here, not like financially, but not only financially, but also like this is what I want to spend my life doing, and then to kind of hyper focus on one thing and then have something happen so out of your control after making it so foolproof it's a shock to the system, that's for sure. And you know me very well. I'm not the type of person that doesn't like to work and doesn't like to do things, and there's a lot of friendships that were created through the business as well. A lot of actual hands-on work. I mean, a lot of the building work and stuff in there. I did a lot of that myself. Adam Wilson, who was the first head chef and a very good mate of mine, who's now out at Poacher's Pantry. He was going to shoot me once, I think, because he had to paint the roof 2 different colours in 1 week. But a lot of people put a lot of effort in, and I'm not talking about the effort that is what you expect from everyday employment or friends and stuff. People went well and truly beyond to create this little restaurant that could do so much, to hold 2 good AGFG hats for 5 or 6 years, I think it is. We ironically won Business of the Year for the local business awards the year that we'd sold it as well, which after I'd sold it and they'd rang me up and I'm like, you didn't come to the awards. I'm like, yeah, sorry, I'm in hospital. But it continued to defy expectations. And I think one thing that's really close to my heart is that it become a platform for me to be able to stand in front of a camera or talk on the radio or on television and say, listen, this is how hard things have to be for people to succeed in this industry. What do we need to do to make this possible? Because a love-fueled industry, when it starts creating this disheartened kind of enthusiasm from people, it's not real, then you're going to end up with proper problems as well. So for me personally, it was more than just a business. It was a whole mechanism that allowed for a lot of other things.
I know you mentioned that it had to be a quick sale, and obviously that means it didn't get the financial rewards that it should have got, or the price that it should have got. But was it important to you who actually took on the business afterwards? Like, was that a part of the process as well?
It's always a big part of a decision when you sell any business, when you sell any asset. I can compare it to selling your first car, or, you're not going to sell your first car to someone that you think's going to flog it off or take it down to the wreckers or something, you know what I mean? So I wanted to make sure that the right people were going to be taking over the business, and we did our research, and we hope that we made the right decision there as well. I've made a conscious decision of kind of taking a step away as much as possible, not looking at Google reviews, not looking at anything like this, and kind of even unfollowing or silencing stuff on social media, because it's too much for me to be seeing somebody else do it. You don't want to see somebody else, dating your ex-girlfriend who lives in your same street, or driving your old car or something. So for me, it was important to know that I hadn't just sold it to someone who wanted to dismantle it and turn it into something else, We had a lot of people that just wanted the space because it is a prime location. It wasn't when I signed the lease, a decade ago. It was a terrible location, but now it's one of the best locations in Canberra. So we wanted to make sure, and the staff were involved in the decision making and stuff as well. We wanted to make sure that the right people were going to be there, but more that the staff were going to be happy to work for the people that come in, because we wanted to maintain the entire roster of staff, and we did that at handover as well.
We've communicated at different stages, during the last year and a half, and I know there was a period of time that you were worried about, will you lose your leg and will the operation be okay? And you mentioned about the operation being on your birthday. Like, how did it go? What was the outcome with the operation?
Yeah, so there was a time when I was very worried that I was going to, thanks to Dr. Google and a couple of appointments and stuff, I was very worried that I was going to lose just the use of that leg if it went on too long and wasn't treated. And the fact that I was working for about 7 months on that hip, even though I was working less hours than normal, even standing was creating more and more damage. And the progressive x-rays were showing that there was, more cracks happening as I was working. So that got reined in very, very quickly, obviously. It was, the surgery itself was a very, very bizarre kind of situation where I'm scared of needles. I've got tattoos. I've cut myself many times, but I'm scared of needles, and I don't know why this is. So going in for surgery, and I've had a number of surgeries in my life, going for surgery, then the number one thing I was scared of was, waking up with a catheter in, but the other one was having the needle that puts you to sleep. I just hate the idea of that. So the surgery date got booked in. I got sent an email saying, this is your surgery date. It's all approved. Insurers on board, surgeons on board. We're using what they call a Mako robot. So it's literally a robot-assisted surgery, which is the most incredible thing I've ever heard of. It meant the surgery only took about an hour and 15 minutes, which is pretty incredible. The scarring is, there is scarring, but it's nothing like what I've seen from other people where you've got lines everywhere and stuff. It's just one nice, neat line and then another hole on the other side where they've gone through to take the bone out and one to feed the camera in. So it was pretty intense. It makes filleting a fish look pretty easy. So, when you're making the comparison of what other people are actually doing. And then the surgery itself went extremely well. Talking to the surgeon after it, he was extremely happy with the way everything went, which was great. They didn't use a catheter, so I was very, very happy about that. And then happens to be on my birthday, which was one strange part about the day. But a very sad thing that happened that day is that a good friend, Leroy, who owned Caribou just across the road from Otis, had passed away that morning as well. So it really put a lot of things into perspective as well for me. So I kind of saw that and obviously was affected by that being the loss of a friend, but I also looked at it and went, well, you need to keep going because you only get one shot at this. So even though that you've lost your restaurant and you've lost your Lexus and you've lost your hip and you've still got to go in and get your knee done and other things, it can be a hell of a lot worse. And it's a reminder of how lucky we are just to be around every day and get to be a part of something that is so special like hospitality. And to live in Australia where we have robots that can do fucking hip replacements. I mean, it's pretty cool. They'll lose your luggage at the airport, but they can get a robot to cut some of your bone out and replace it. It's good.
It's a very bizarre set of circumstances and extreme adversity that you've gone through in the last year or so. We've had you on the show many times because you're very wise and one of the funniest buggers that I've ever met. How did you get through that sort of adversity? Like, what was your approach to get through all of these things, dominoes that were happening to you?
I think it's always important to focus on your economics of time, space, and movement, which people that hear that, they'll go, I'm sick of him saying that. He's been saying it for 25 years. But if you are focused on breaking everything down in your life to time, space, and movement, how much time is this going to take? How much room or how many things do I need to do this, and how much energy do I need to put into it to achieve it. All of a sudden, what sounds like a really tricky hurdle just becomes a task. And I think it's important to really be able to identify, challenges as tasks, and being able to go, right, well, now I need to go to physio 3 times a week for a year or 2 years, or now I need to do the following things. I think it's just, you need to remind yourself, this is what I need to do because this is what is happening. Not, I don't want to do this. Not, I wish it wasn't like this. You can wish all you want. It's not going to change anything. The world shut down because of COVID, and we flipped that on its head and become more successful than we were before because we broke down the task in front of us into time, space, and movement, and we just achieved that task. We didn't look at it as a big challenge and a big hurdle. That's something that's so important, particularly right now when we're facing the impending recession that's about to hit. We're facing rising costs, rising wages, rising overheads and rent, rising insurances, all these things. We just need to stop thinking about all the problems and just rejig how we're looking at the time, space, and movement. Like, the goalpost has moved a bit. This is how we have to do it. And that's the approach I've taken in my personal life. And this, you call like a medical journey or something as well, is being, okay, well, now I walk the dog 3 times a day for 5 minutes at a time to the corner and back, because that's as far as I can walk. It's not the dog's fault. It's just important that you don't sell yourself short and sell your one life short because something's happened.
Hospitality is sort of at your core, and you've made such an impact on the Australian hospitality industry. Is that a part of sort of you moving forward? Like, what are you doing in regards to sort of income and your influence in hospitality?
So income-wise, I've got insurance for what's happened, obviously, and that is kind of putting food on the table. It's certainly not the income that I would normally be having, and not that income was going into some gigantic bank account or something. Normally that was going, across the bar and into tills in restaurants, because if I wasn't at work, I was at somebody else's work. So at the moment, it's a big change in lifestyle for me, obviously. And again, that's just one of them things you have to change. Long term, I've got a few options in front of me depending on what I want to do. I'm not going to be able to work in a kitchen again like I did. I'm not going to be able to own and operate a restaurant the way I did because, I was doing every single role within the business. That's simply not going to happen. I've had a few conversations lately in regards to the dirty P word of politics, which is something that is on the table to explore, whether that's in a role of advisory or in a role of me talking bullshit in front of a camera and in front of people and trying to explain to everyone how we can fix things. So that's one option that could be a long way down the track with a very long, slow run up, I guess. The other is consultancy as well. I mean, I can do small amounts of consultancy, keeping in mind I've got my own mental health and things to focus on. And, I kind of described it the other day to someone in a bizarre way, but it's the only way I can kind of think of it is consulting to somebody else's business right now would, like, if you're doing that in many, many circumstances and things, would be the same as losing a child and then becoming a babysitter. I mean, it's gonna bring things up, and there's only so much you can do. I know that's a very strange analogy, but helping somebody else build their dream is something that would give me satisfaction, absolutely. But is it a long-term sustainable thing to scratch that itch for me? Definitely not. Because if you're consulting to the same business for a year, you're a shit consultant. So if you can't get in and out and fix the problems, you're not good at what you do. And again, I'm very hyper-focused. So I would be, if I was doing that work, I'd be achieving goals very quickly, which in hindsight puts me out of work. So it's not a sustainable full-time career or anything like that, but it's something that I'll look at doing to help out businesses that I think could use the help. But again, it's not going to be a big official type thing. It's going to be, and also it's really dictating on health, mobility, whether I can be weight bearing, whether I'm on crutches, when my knee surgery will be, and things like that.
It's extraordinary what you've been through. Has there been some sort of reflective, positive outcomes from this sort of situation that you've been in?
I'm still here. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, overcoming things is something that, people rarely celebrate. I think there's always, when people do have those bigger tasks to do, or challenges, or however people want to frame them, when people do have those things in front of them, they often stop. They don't stop and look back and go, well, I've just done that. It's important to do that and kind of take stock in what you've done, the tasks you have achieved, whether that is, I can now walk with one crutch instead of two. That's a big win. At physio, I can now, do squats of a certain weight. That's a win. So for me, it's a series of 1,000 small wins along the way to get to where we need to go, and also just being pretty realistic about it. I mean, there are people in much worse situations than me. There are people that are suffering with extreme mental illness or extreme disease or poverty or other tasks in front of them that would, I say that's a mountain compared to my little hill that I've got to look at. I'm in a lucky situation that I've had a past filled with success that, I'm not going to be out on the street or something, you know what I mean? So I've got a good foundation from where I was beforehand. And I'd like to think that if it came down to it and I was to look at one of those other career options well and truly down the track, doing, 1 day a week or something, that I'd be able to fill that day pretty easily as well. So there are a lot of people out there that are doing a lot tougher. So.
Well, Damien, as always, it's always an absolute pleasure to catch up with you, and good to see that you're on the positive road after such a challenging period of time. Please keep in touch and look forward to catching up again.
Will do, mate. I'll catch up for a beer next time I'm around Kingston.
That sounds really good.
Cheers, mate.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Stay safe and be well.